What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video, continuing the Toronto Maple Leafs 2021 player previews or player predictions, however you want to look at it. Today we are going with Jake Muzzin. Now, the best way that I can put this is that when I did the review or preview, sorry, I should say not review, preview. Hopefully I didn't say review earlier, but preview for Zach Hyman, I referred to him as the heart and soul of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, you could also say that Jake Muzzin is a part of that. I would definitely say him and Hyman would be the backbone of this team, along with Freddie Anderson, to be quite honest with you. I've been a little tough on Freddie, but you guys need to understand, I think Freddie has carried this team quite a bit. I think guys like Zach Hyman have done their part to make this team have a little bit more than, grit and stuff like that and net front presence than they do. And guys like Jake Muzzin bring, that defensive style, that physical style, that leadership style that the Leafs were really lacking until he came into the fold. Now, before I do get any further, please make sure to go and check out my other previews and check out all the other videos that I've been posting, and a lot more are on the way, a lot more previews for the upcoming season. And make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Like I said, lots of content coming, mostly surrounding the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's usually what I do on this channel, but there's other videos that will be coming out to do with all NHL teams. But again, getting back to Jake Muzzin, just since he came over from LA, he helped at least change the narrative behind the Toronto Maple Leafs blue line, because it's always been, okay, the Leafs blue line is terrible. Now, did he make their blue line great? No, but he made their blue line better, and that was the start. You need a guy like Jake Muzzin, and then it turns into, bringing in TJ Brody, and we all know Morgan Riley's great, but he can't do it all himself. You needed that defensive style defenseman that can put up a little bit of points, and that's what Jake Muzzin does. He brings a lot to the table. I mean, the guy was getting cheers every time he laid even just a decent hit when there was fans in the arena. I do miss that, but let's get into some numbers here. So he's 31 years old, 6'3", 217 pounds. He's a big dude. Shoots left. Babcock complained about him because he complains about everything when he was the coach. When he was brought in, which is quite comical. But anyways, looking at some of his numbers, he's been a guy that can put up points. Like, I think people seem to forget that, Muzzin is very capable of putting up pretty good numbers. So split between Toronto and LA the first year that he came over, in 80 games, he had 37 points. If we're just going by what he had in Toronto in his first season, he had 30 games played, he had 16 points. Like, I mean, the guy is not just a guy that can play defensively. He's actually very capable of putting up points. Now, in 53 games last year, pretty productive, 23 points in 53 games, including 6 goals and 17 assists. So, like I said, Jake Muzzin was brought in to play the defensive side of the game, but he was very much also brought in to put up some points if he could, because that's what he's done, and that's why he cost the Leafs what he did, including a first round pick, because he's very capable of doing everything, and you don't always get that. He's not a number one, but he is a very, very solid defenseman that can bring you that physical edge that you also need. Now, you can see he throws a lot of hits. This past season, he had 109 in 30 games played. The previous season, he had 61, and then his time split between LA and Toronto, he had 172. Now, in LA, at their peak, they had a really, really solid decor. They had a lot of guys that were playing really, really well. But as the years went on, of course, we see in LA turn into a bit of a worse hockey team, and Jake Muzzin actually had to carry a lot of the load. They still had, Drew Doughty, Alec Martinez, but Jake Muzzin kind of embodied what the Leafs really needed. Drew Doughty costs a lot of money, or else he would probably be on any team. I'm not saying he's still great, but if he was a lot cheaper, a lot of people would want Drew Doughty's services, and I'm a little biased because I watched him play junior hockey in Guelph. But I really like Drew Doughty, but I don't love his contract. Alec Martinez, fantastic. The Leafs probably would have been interested in him as well. But Muzzin really fit the bill. And I think that if he stays healthy, is arguably the most important piece on this team. I mean, look at when Muzzin went down. The Leafs literally played like crap defensively. They need him in the lineup. They need him. That's no doubt. So looking at his cap friendly, let's move over here now. $5.6 million cap hit. This is his contract extension. No movement clause and no trade clause. No trade clause and a modified no trade clause. Now, I do not think that he'll end up playing this full contract in Toronto. I have a feeling that somewhere in here there's going to be either a trade or there's going to be some, like, I don't, like, people are talking about the Seattle thing. I don't think that's going to happen, but I just, for some reason, don't think he'll play out his full contract. I hope he does. I hope he stays healthy and plays out his full contract in Toronto. But for some reason, I just can't see him playing as a Leaf this whole time just because of the money. And, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. But I like this cap hit. 5.6 for a guy like Jake Muzzin. You're paying that all day long. I know some people might not agree with the contract, thinking that his age might dictate something. But you have to remember, you pay for what you get, and the Leafs don't have the, you know, bargaining edge with a guy like Jake Muzzin. All they have to do is go to the table and say, if I leave, you have nobody like me. Now, sure, they could find a trade to replace him, but when you already have one and you can sign him to a reasonable contract, there's no reason to risk and hurt that relationship with a guy that you know is good enough to play and is good enough to be in your lineup every single night. So Jake Muzzin is a perfect fit for the Leafs. This contract here, no problems at all. And I expect him to be the backbone of this blue line once again this year. Now, looking at his previous contracts, I just want to show you guys. His previous deal was $4 million, which is, I mean, you would love to keep him at that dollar. And when the Leafs acquired him, he still had a year to go on that deal. So it was a great deal for the Leafs. I mean, they needed him, and they didn't have to give up too much to where it hurt them. It benefited them to have him in the lineup. So again, getting a guy like Jake Muzzin, and his raise is only $1.6 million because it was 4 before. Now you go up to 5.6. I mean, I'm also taking that any day of the week. Sometimes you're seeing these guys go from getting paid $4 million to like 7.5. Like, for what the Leafs need, Jake Muzzin was a perfect fit, and now they've built off of that. TJ Brody, like I said, you know, you bring in depth in Bogosian. You hope Mikko Lehtinen can bring in something from the KHL. So I really like the way Jake Muzzin plays. I would expect him to have a pretty good year. I'm thinking he'll probably have similar point totals. Obviously, it's going to be a shortened season, so I'd have him in like the 20 to 25 point range. If they really tell him this year, listen, we need you to have a very strong defensive focus, especially if they're going to really push the fact that he's going to be on a shutdown pairing, whether or not that's going to be with Justin Hall, whether it's going to be with TJ Brody, maybe he plays with Morgan Riley, maybe he plays with Travis Dermott. I don't know. That's the crazy part. Is it Bogosian? Is it Lehtinen? Who knows who this guy's going to play with? Hell, could it end up being a Liljegren or Sandin? Probably not. But it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. What can we expect at this point? So very, very interested to see what he does this year. But all I know is when Jake Muzzin's on the ice, I feel comfortable. I mean, Leaf fans should feel very comfortable. I mean, I never played at a very high level. I was a goaltender. I played single A hockey. I played with some pretty good teams. When I played select as well, there was a lot of guys that when they were on the ice and they were very defensively sound, I felt very comfortable. And I'm sure it's like that for any league, anywhere, any, you know, group. In the NHL, it's a lot more important. So I'm sure when Muzzin's out there, Freddie and Campbell feel real good because he's real good. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this preview for Jake Muzzin. Let me know down below what you guys think. Leave your predictions. And yeah, check out some of the other videos. I appreciate you guys, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.